Beyond the surface, the crucible of true spiritual elevation. What if everything you thought you knew about spiritual growth was backwards? What if the comfortable, Instagram worthy practices we often label as spiritual are actually keeping us from the real thing? I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Michelle Broadnax, a revolutionary force whose journey has redefined what authentic spiritual elevation truly means. Michelle isn't just another success story. She's a testament to what happens when someone refuses to accept the sanitized version of spirituality our culture sells us. Her work building an internationally recognized nonprofit from nothing while overcoming homelessness and surviving being shot has transformed countless lives across the globe. But more importantly, her journey illuminates a truth so powerful it might just change how you view your own spiritual path forever. The uncomfortable reality Michelle revealed is this: true spiritual elevation isn't found in perfect meditation poses or carefully curated affirmations. It isn't discovered in retreats that cost thousands of dollars or in the latest spiritual bestseller. It's forged in the crucible of life's harshest challenges, the very ones most of us are desperately trying to avoid. When Michelle left her corporate job in 2009, she wasn't stepping into a carefully planned spiritual journey with a safety net. She was answering a call that defied logic, one that eventually led her through periods of homelessness where she questioned everything. During these darkest moments, when she had nothing external to rely on, she discovered something profound: the difference between performing spirituality and living it. The universe, Michelle told me, doesn't care about your comfort, it cares about your growth. This statement hit me like a thunderbolt. How many of us have been sold the idea that spiritual growth should feel good, that it should be convenient, that it should fit neatly into our busy schedules between yoga class and green juice? The problem with our current understanding is that we've sanitized spiritual growth, divorced it from struggle, packaged it into consumable products. We've created a marketplace of spiritual performance that has little to do with genuine transformation. And in doing so, we've robbed ourselves of the very catalyst that makes true elevation possible: adversity. Think about it. When was the last time your spiritual practice truly challenged you? When did it last push you beyond your comfort zone into territory that frightened you? When did it demand everything from you? Michelle's story isn't unique in its pattern, only in its details. Consider the members of the WNBA All Decade team who transformed women's sports through authentic leadership. These remarkable athletes didn't just excel on the court, they leveraged their platforms to advocate for social change despite facing persistent stereotypes and systemic racism. Their spiritual journey wasn't separate from these challenges, it was expressed through them. I'm reminded of Lisa Leslie, Cheryl Swoops, and Dawn Staley, women who didn't just break records, but broke barriers. They faced a society that often devalued women's sports, media that underrepresented their achievements, and systems that underpaid their talents. Yet they persisted, not just for personal glory, but to create pathways for generations of young women to follow. Their leadership wasn't built in comfortable circumstances. It was forged through confronting barriers that would have stopped most people. And in pushing through these barriers, they didn't just achieve personal success, they transformed an entire sport and culture around it. This pattern repeats across cultures and contexts. Consider the Rosecoco entrepreneurs in Kenya who didn't rise from poverty through affirmations alone. Their spiritual conviction served as fuel as they overcame limited access to capital and frequent social instability. They formed cooperatives rooted in shared values, reinvesting profits into local education and health initiatives, One such entrepreneur whose name has become synonymous with community transformation began by selling beans in a small market stall. Today, he employs hundreds and has built schools in regions where educational access was once a distant dream. When asked about his success, he doesn't point to business strategies, but to a deep spiritual calling that sustained him through countless setbacks. These entrepreneurs didn't just create wealth, they became role models whose authentic journeys inspire global audiences. Their spiritual elevation wasn't separate from their business challenges, it was expressed through how they face them. What Michelle Broadnax and these other examples reveal is that true spiritual growth operates on three principles that contradict much of what we've been taught. First, we must embrace adversity as spiritual training. Every obstacle, whether homelessness, violence, or professional setbacks, is an invitation to deepen spiritual awareness and resilience. Growth happens when we lean into these challenges instead of shying away. When Michelle found herself homeless after leaving corporate America, she didn't abandon her vision. She doubled down on it, using that period of extreme vulnerability to develop inner strength through deep spiritual introspection. Not surface level affirmations, but the kind of soul searching that only comes when everything external has been stripped away. Even surviving being shot, a traumatic event that could have ended her mission, became part of her spiritual curriculum. These weren't detours from her spiritual path, they were the path itself. Second, we must radically redefine what spiritual means. Surface level rituals are not enough. True spirituality requires examining our beliefs, letting go of what no longer serves us, and committing fully to our purpose, even when it's uncomfortable. Michelle's spirituality wasn't about escaping reality, but engaging with it more fully. It wasn't about feeling good all the time, but about finding meaning even in suffering. It wasn't about projecting an image of enlightenment, but about doing the messy, unglamorous work of genuine transformation. Third, we must lead with purpose beyond profit. Building something meaningful can have impact far greater than personal gain. When our work aligns with a higher calling, it resonates internationally and changes lives. Michelle's nonprofit grew to international recognition, not because she pursued fame or fortune, but because she remained steadfastly committed to empowering marginalized communities. Her spiritual calling wasn't separate from her professional work, it was expressed through it. The implications of this understanding are profound. If more people embraced this deeper approach, that real elevation requires vulnerability, courage through hardship, honest self examination, we would see more resilient leaders capable of driving lasting change within organizations and communities alike. Businesses would shift focus from empty metrics toward meaningful service aligned with higher values. Research consistently shows this increases both employee fulfillment and organizational performance over time. But this path isn't easy. It demands a level of courage that most spiritual marketplaces don't advertise. It requires us to stop using spirituality as an escape and start using it as a resource for engagement. It asks us to trade comfort for growth, certainty for exploration, safety for purpose. Michelle's journey from corporate America to nonprofit leadership while overcoming homelessness and surviving violence demonstrates that authentic spirituality isn't found in avoiding life's difficulties, but in moving through them with purpose and integrity. The Black woman who leaves a secure job to pursue a calling that makes no logical sense. The athlete who uses her platform not just for personal gain, but to challenge systemic injustice. The entrepreneur who builds a business not just to create wealth, but to transform a community. These are the true spiritual warriors of our time. Not because they've mastered the perfect meditation technique or can recite spiritual texts from memory, but because they've had the courage to answer a call that demanded everything from them. And here's what's most revolutionary about Michelle's message: this path is available to all of us. We don't need special credentials or privileged circumstances. We just need the courage to answer our own call, whatever it may be. So I challenge you today: what is the call you've been ignoring? What difficult truth have you been avoiding in the name of spiritual comfort? What would it look like if you embrace the crucible rather than running from it? This isn't about adding more spiritual practices to your life. It's about bringing more life to your spiritual practice. It's about having the courage to let adversity transform you rather than trying to transform adversity into something palatable. The world doesn't need more people performing spirituality. It needs more people embodying it through the courageous action, through vulnerable presence, through unwavering commitment to purpose. Michelle Broadnax didn't change the world by posting inspirational quotes. She changed it by walking through fire and emerging not just intact, but illuminated. And in that illumination, she lit the way for others. Today, I invite you, no, I dare you to redefine what spirituality means in your life, to stop using it as a shield against discomfort and start wielding it as a sword that cuts through illusion, to recognize that the very challenges you've been praying to avoid might be the answers to prayers you didn't know you were making. The crucible is waiting, not to destroy you, but to reveal you, not to diminish you, but to elevate you to heights you cannot yet imagine. Will you have the courage to step into the fire, to embrace the crucible of true spiritual elevation? The world is waiting for your answer.